So, do I get to hear the chanting story this week? Okay, it's not an overly interesting one, really. Well, I'll be the judge of that. So, what happened? You obtained nirvana? Nope, nothing that interesting. Well, go back to the beginning. Okay, this was back in March of this year. I was feeling particularly powerless and out of sorts while dyeing my hair for the first time. Is the hair dyeing relevant? I doubt it, but it felt relevant, as afterwards the henna left quite a fiery glow, and I felt pretty badass. Anyway, I was relaxing on the couch, as usual, and I saw a new music video for the folk metal band Bloodywood. I'd really liked their music so far, and the messages along with it, so I took a look. They had a warning on their new song, Dana Dan, warning that it contained themes of sexual assault, and that made me pull up short. My gut instinct was very negative, but I decided to give it a listen and was instantly reassured. What was your gut telling you at first? My initial reaction was that the song was going to be somehow glorifying sexual assault, like in all the TV shows and books that X number 2 was so fond of and made me pursue. I know that type of attitude towards sexual assault is the last sort of thing that would be preceded by a trigger warning, but the gut reaction wasn't thinking logically. But I gave it a listen and was instantly reassured when the opening line was about putting one's fist through the face of a rapist. Bless those Bloodywood chaps. The lyrics and music were gripping, and I got really into it and really angry. I felt like I was in the center of a whirlwind of fire. I was in a fury over all of the accounts I'd read about in my psychology and trauma books, things I encountered, things I knew others had encountered. It all built up. I got so angry over the idea that those perpetrators were still out and about, and the vast majority were never going to change or care about the consequences of their actions beyond how they themselves were impacted. I indulged in a few rather vicious daydreams for a bit, and then decided to get chanting about it. Why that? Because I had my focus caught on preventing the perpetrators from creating even more victims. Reoffending. I know my time could be very well used in supporting victim services or signing petitions, making donations, and I felt like all of that was not stopping the problem at the source. And beyond starting roving gangs of guardians to dole out vigilante justice to abusers, I couldn't think of any other way to stop them reoffending. And that idea has all kinds of difficulties anyways. Like, would you wait for a conviction before setting the gang on the accused? What if the wrong person had been identified as the perpetrator? What if it was a racially motivated false accusation to deliberately target a minority group? So I figured turning it to the divine and asking, if they weren't going to stop all of this at the source, to give me the strength to stop the offending people from acting again. You didn't petition them to stop the harm completely? I figured that was a human free will problem. Probably not a lot can be done in that regard simply because this hippie demands it. Holding people accountable, especially ones that would otherwise get off scot-free, seemed like a reasonable request. Okay, so what happened next? I didn't fully trust myself, and chanting mantras with the intention of causing people to suffer, even if it was an exact response to the harm they caused, seemed a bit dangerous. I knew I was coming from a place of anger and pain, one shared by lots of people, and that's not a good place to act from, even when aiming to protect people. So I opened my book of mantras, found 2 that seemed like they would do a good job dealing out reparations, in my mind, and stumbled on a different mantra for awakening that seemed like a good one to start with. I can't fully remember, but I think I chose that one with the intention to awaken myself and all beings to the divine compassion within and their connection to all beings. So starting gently to end global harm? Yep. Hoping I'd feel the latter 2 mantras weren't necessary, I guess. And asking for wisdom to use the later mantras for the highest good of all, harm of none. Sounds like a good start. I thought so. One of the 2 later mantras warned that one had to use it with a pure heart, not a vengeful one, so I thought taking some time to encourage connection was a good idea. So I chanted the awakening mantra 108 times every morning and night for 40 days. Then, when that was over, and I felt I still wanted to continue with my plan, I looked at the second set of mantras. Here's where the slightly interesting bit creeps in. I delayed on using those two mantras in case they were too powerful for me and I would wind up hurting myself or doing things I didn't intend. When I took another look at the mantras, I realized they were far, far tamer than I'd thought. The one I chanted in the morning was for a deity of divine justice and compassion to destroy evil influences. And the one at night was to bring compassion into the world. I guess when I was wound up and looking for mantras, I saw them as far more volatile than they really were. Or you thought you were far more volatile than you really are. Or that, yes. My idea of taking desperate, yet legal and just measures was infinitely more gentle and compassionate than I'd thought at the time. I'd chosen to do the awakening mantra to make sure I wasn't going to be a danger, when even in a rage, I wasn't actually posing danger to anyone innocent. Another example of being less dangerous than you think you are. Yep, and I kinda hate it. Why is that? In the midst of justified rage, I was downright harmless. Ineffective, if you like. I mean, I chose to chant to try and solve a global problem that I have no physical effect over. I chose to pray the bad away, which may be just as ineffective as the prayer in schools that some people feel is what would truly protect their children rather than gun laws or defunding the police. I felt a bit like a small and fairly harmless animal trying with all its might to defend itself from a predator and going, "Yeah, I'm fierce, so watch out, I'm a force!" Like a bunny trying to bite a raging bear. It's cute and pathetic. Choosing the mantras at the start, I hoped they'd make me more of a force, stronger and dangerous to harmful people, but let's be real, it was nothing. You want to be felt and seen as dangerous? Well, sometimes yes. Maybe more powerful than dangerous. Only dangerous to harmful people. I mean, who wants to hurt kind people? Who indeed? And you don't feel that powerful in life without divine intervention through mantras? No. I guess I still feel like everyone else has power over me, and I want to have enough of my own that people recognize it, or at least stop taking me for granted. And the idea of having the power to be violent to vicious people felt like the ultimate power fantasy. Did your existential book talk about that? Yes, it did, and suggested finding ways of being felt and having an effect on people that satisfied me and them without harming anyone. I guess I don't know what that is for me. And now you have the opportunity of finding out. You want to make people feel things and think. You've always been drawn to the arts and psychology. With what education and experience I have, I still can't make people feel anything. Bloodywood made you feel something, and it was entirely in line with their message. You think they wouldn't have seen this little bunny doing their best to use their power for good, even when angry, and think, wow, they get it? Fair. And according to the comments, that video had resonated with quite a crowd. But what if I'm no good at making people feel things? I couldn't get people to feel what I was feeling in the past. You need an audience that wants to feel what you're offering. And I need the belief in myself and the discipline to actually make something and not just give up out of boredom and frustration. How will I know I'm looking at the right thing? God will leap out of the clouds with a sign and a flash mob. In reality, you won't. Just keep trying while you have something to share and be open to learning. Any chants you can think of that would help you? Any mantras? Oh shit, yeah, several. I challenge you to go back to those and start taking baby steps. I hate the learning phase. I know, it's not pretty, and everyone goes through it. Have fun and try little steps. I'll give it a shot. Don't judge my attempts. I never do.